Have you pressed record now?
We're recording.
We're recording. Great. So welcome everybody to our lockdown revision session for Global Lives. Nicola and I asked you guys to ask any questions that you have of the paper by yesterday. And we're going to go through the questions that were asked on the blog one by one, and also just to go through the paper a little bit, just to show you what it's like. So I think what we'll do now is I'm going to move to share screen, and we'll just go through the paper first, shall we, Nicola?
Sounds great.
Okay, here we go then. Let's share that screen. Here we go then. So on the right hand side, here we have the Global Lives exam paper. It's already been published, and as you can see, it needs to be submitted by noon on the 22nd of May. You all know that anyway. The exam is structured in exactly the same way. This coursework version of the exam is structured in exactly the same way as the exam that we talked to you about at the end of term one. So there's 2 questions to answer. There's 2 sections with 2 options in, and you choose one of each. And for this equivalent, this exam equivalent kind of coursework, the essays should be no longer than 1,000 words per question. So Nicola, do you want to read out the first one?
Okay,
Section
so
A.
Section A. And we've got 2 questions. One, reflecting on themes within the Global Lives module. Respond to the following question. If races do not exist as a biological reality, why do so many people still believe that they do? Which is from a writer called Sussman, written in 2014.
And you can answer that question, or you can choose question 2. Reflecting on themes within the Global Lives module, discuss the statement that decolonisation is for everyone. You may include personal reflections in your answer. So we've had a couple of questions about these questions, so we'll talk about those in a little bit, but let's just go through. So you choose one of these 2 and write a 1,000-word response to the one you choose. And then section B.
Before we move on to section B, should we just give our general thoughts on why we have this section, Ian?
Go on then.
Yeah, I can share those. So
why don't you do that?
This section is probably something that you're a bit more familiar with. As a sort of like a coursework kind of response, a bit of we expect to see a literature review in order for you to answer this question critically. And we're drawing on your critical thinking, how you respond to these. So we expect to see you thinking through these questions with your reading in mind. You'll notice that one kind of is an invitation for personal reflections. The other one doesn't have that, but and we'll come on to this in the questions in a bit, if you want to respond in a personal way to either question, that's fine. But we do expect you to have literature informing your answers to these 2 questions.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's all I was going to say really on that, Ian.
It's more like a standard essay question, except it's quite a short essay, isn't it? That's the issue with it being a character as well. So I think there's an issue here about how efficiently written the answers are. So there really isn't any room for kind of 12 words when 8 would do. You know? Yeah,
they've got to be really tight. And you're not going to be able to bite off very much, are you? You're going to have to choose really carefully some key ideas, because you may only have maybe 6 paragraphs. If you think about your 1,000 words, so you may decide that what are my 4 most important ideas that I'm going to share, and we would expect an intro and a conclusion. So you've got to really use your words really carefully. So you can't pile too much in. So really, your critical thinking is you're working out what is the strongest material to use to answer this question. And we totally get that you won't be able to put everything in this answer. So there's just no possibility. So you have to curate an argument which is powerful in a short number of words.
And that you can evidence, because it's not the right answer, it's the convincing answer that we're looking for. So what do you need to be able to support what it is that you want to say? All right, let's move on then. to section B. So section B is another section with 2 options in it, and each of these 2 options is text that we're asking you to respond to. And I think in both cases, the question at the beginning is, using your knowledge of themes within the Global Lives module, critically discuss the issues raised in the following extract. So we're not going to read these out. One, I'll just say a little bit about the first one. This is a newspaper article. Where is it from? It says at the end, doesn't it? No, it's not. It's an online. It's an online magazine article, I guess you could say, in Medium about a group of students producing this spoof newspaper, Boris Back's Empire Education. And so we've taken some extracts from this newspaper article. You don't have to go back and read the original, only use the words that we've put here. That we're not expecting you to do any more research onto this. It's just read what is here, and as you're reading it, just think about the issues from the module that it brings up, that jump out to you, and then that's the sort of work to maybe dig into, some of the readings to dig into, but just go through it and highlight the parts that stick out to you if you want to choose this particular option. So let's have a quick look at the next one. Do you want to say something about this one, Nicola?
Yeah, so this is, both of these 2 papers are things that, are things that you might have, we could have given you in class to read. So you must remember that you're really used to doing this type of analysis, because we asked you pretty much every week in that prep to take a newspaper article or to take a YouTube video and to look at it and to bring to bear your critical thinking. And remember, critical is not about being right or wrong or being negative or trying to find a balanced argument. It's about using the theory in order to make a considered opinion. So you're using your critical judgment. You're employing your theoretical lens, which is your criticality, to make sense of something. So this one's by Olivia Adtel, and she's a professor of history of slavery at the University of Bristol, and she's writing about her arguments around why we need to think about slavery in contemporary Britain. And your job again is to read it and to notice the things that are powerful to you, having done the module, and to discuss what those issues are.
I think just the advice with this in terms of choosing is that I think in an exam, people might just rush through these really quickly and then just choose something like on the spur of the moment. But you guys have got more chance here just to read these through really carefully, possibly, I guess, highlight the issues that you see in both, and then make a decision about which one it is that you find more interesting or that you've got more to say about, or whatever, for whatever reason. So just take your time to read both of them carefully, I would say, and then make your choice.
Yeah, and it's always nice when we we expect to see quite a close reading of these articles. So it's really nice in essays to have little quotes from the texts to show that what we really don't want is you to download kind of from your brain a kind of a lecture which is on a linked theme. Yeah. What we really want you to do is interrogate the content of this piece of writing and to make the connections to the ideas in the module. So really think through how you're going to excavate some really trenchant thoughts from this article and make sense of them for us.
It's like you're saying to us, look, this article is about this as far as I'm concerned. Look at this quotation. Look at what this reading kind of says. There's something going on here. It's kind of like what so-and-so says, but it's not quite like that. Or it's that kind of issue. So we need to see you treating the academic literature and these newspaper articles. The thing about critical interrogation is you're just weighing them up against each other. You're seeing how one informs the other one. We're not giving you something that is simply an illustration of something you will have read about. It's exactly the same kind of thing. They're supposed to kind of be a little bit of grit in there. They're supposed to kind of give you stuff to think about. And I'm not really sure if it's this or that, but there's something going on here. It's that kind of vibe, I think, is really is what we're kind of looking for, if that makes sense. So it's a bit half and half, reading academic reading and the sources themselves and seeing how they work together and showing the detail from both. I guess is what we're looking for, I'd say.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it.